Good morning and welcome to Mental Health Matters Office Hours. It's me, Dr Audrey Tang, with co-host Judith Crosier, and today we are welcoming Giulia Remondino, and she is the founder of inGeniously. Now, inGeniously is a very interesting way of understanding how our brains and our cognitive skills work. It's really wonderful for the workplace, and I can't wait to hear all about it.
Me neither. It's going to be a fascinating discussion. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about inGeniously and what you hope it will do for us all in the workplace?
Of course. So, inGeniously, we could say, what we do is we improve your brain, but not the brain itself, but how we use it.
Love it.
Because, we've all been given this super powerful tool in our head, but we have never really been taught how to use it. And if we think about the results we have, the emotions we feel, what we go through, the common root is always in how we have learned how to use our brain. So what we do is we help people to discover how to use it better by understanding what their priorities are, what they need, what they want, and based on that, teaching them the skills that will help them perform better, but in a more sustainable way as well.
That sustainability is so important because you hear so many of these interventions and tools and all of that, but sustainability after the workshop or after the training session doesn't happen a lot of the time. So yes, brilliant, excellent, love it.
So what are the 12 cognitive skills that can affect performance?
So there's the 12, as you mentioned, and I group them into 4. So the way we talk about it is in forms of 4 superpowers that we can activate, right?
Nice.
Because our brain is really, really powerful. So one superpower, I call it time distortion. So that includes mostly skills like focus, time management, productivity. So being able to bend time to your will and feel like you're doing a lot of things. Like there's people that in 24 hours do things that others may take 48 hours to do. But again, always making sure that we don't rush it, but we feel we're being productive without stressing.
Yeah.
The second set, we could call it instant knowledge. So absorbing information very effectively, because we live in a world in which learning is fundamental. And so speed reading, information processing, memory, they all fall into this superpower. Then we have X-ray perception, which means being able to see things below the surface. So observing details, attention to detail, and then connecting them in a logical way with critical thinking, but also thinking outside the box through lateral thinking, creativity. And then the final one is world reshaping. So being able to also influence the world around us thanks to what we've learned. So, for example, problem solving, decision making, presentation skills. So these are more interpersonal skills in a way that allow us to create change around us as well.
I love that, and I love the positive approach to this.
Yeah.
Because so often when I've delivered psychometric training, everyone starts going, oh no, I'm this one, and that's not as good as the other. People seem to think this A isn't as good as B, which isn't as good as C, and so on, which isn't the case. What you're genuinely talking about is all of our brains are different, and we just have stronger skills in certain areas, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can choose to improve the ones that you need, but that are not there yet. And that allows you, I believe, what I love the most is that it really allows you to bring out your uniqueness and who you are, your essence, we could say. Because when we're so caught up in doing, at times we forget, what am I here to bring to this world, right?
That's lovely, which brings me to my next question. We're dealing with people who are caught up in doing using bad habits, using habits that have got them through thus far. So if you're working with a group of executives in that situation, they have these bad habits, they maybe have improvements that can be made in 8 of those 12 areas. How do you support them without overwhelming them or letting them feel, oh my goodness, I've got so much to do now?
So very good question, because I believe that we should never overload our brain. And nowadays we live in a world in which information is very accessible, right? So everyone searches for things and learns, but a bit superficially about everything. While real change I've seen happens when you go to the core, to the root.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we've developed an assessment that's called Inner Genius Assessment, where the purpose of the assessment is to identify the priorities for that individual. So there's 12 skills. There may be some that you don't need. There may be some where you're already amazing. Out of the 8 maybe that you need, there will be some that will make the biggest impact first. so that we can focus on that first and then proceed, so that you don't get overwhelmed, you see results, and you do it in a way that's more healthy.
I like that. So it's guided. Once you've discovered it, then it's a guided process. Because I like the unlock your superpower concept. It's so positive, and it's more motivating that way, I think. Now, many people may be in roles where they're not excelling. So I'll give you another situation. You've done the test, you know what it is, you've improved those skills. It doesn't suit that role that you're in. That's a really awkward situation then with the organisation. How do you bridge that gap or soften the blow, I guess?
So I would say that whenever we are in a role that doesn't really suit us, so the first step is what you said. So first is about understanding what can I develop in order to maybe be more suitable for the role. Yeah. Once we've done that, that's when we are in the position to say, okay, actually it's not for me, so I can start maybe searching for something else, asking for a better role or more suitable to me. If we do this request before having actually tried to improve, we'll never know if we're just running away from something that's not, we're not there yet, or if it's actually not our role. Once we improve and we still stick at it and we see that things don't change, we're not fulfilled, it's not working out and so on, that's the time in which it's also important to ask. Right?
What about the self-employed? Because that's slightly harder, because you might have somebody who has discovered they are really good at creativity, people management and so on, but they just can't afford to bring in somebody to do the work that they're struggling with time management or something like that. How do you support them in that case?
That's a good question. So in that case, for example, from the assessment, we would probably notice that, because the assessment puts together your goals, your perception, and your actual skill level right now, right? So we would probably see from the assessment that their creativity is already great, and that's what's giving them certain types of results, but time management, productivity are a bit lacking. So in that case, the priority would be to help them develop those so that they can reach a level that is helpful for them, for their business, for their activities. So everyone can improve. You know, our brain is incredibly plastic. We have 86 billion neurons that can create 100 trillion connections. So we can really rewire it the way we want to. And if we start from the fact that we all can learn anything, then we can have targeted interventions on those skills that they need. For example, time management. I can't afford someone to organize my day, but I can learn to be that one that organizes their own day effectively, and then that will lead me to the point in which I can also hire someone potentially and focus more on what I love, the creative work, for example.
Yes, that's true. Or there's tools that can help you if you've identified what the issue is. This is just throwing something out there that I've read recently. There was the whole brain imaging studies. I can't remember who did it, someone like Harvard. Anyway, in this brain imaging studies, we're supposed to have 4 distinct phases of the brain, you know, up until 30, I think we're still developing, and past that, 30 to, I think, a bit older, we are streamlining to make it all work in the right way. So when someone comes to you, whilst absolutely the brain is plastic, it still has developed patterns. And I know a lot of our guests on here who study the brain, study the mind, will then say, well, we default to some of those patterns because it's easy. So whilst I love the positivity and whilst I love the change, the potential for change, there is work that needs to take place there.
Absolutely. So it's not a magic wand.
Yeah.
And this is very important because we live in a world in which we want quick fixes, solutions, and quick tips. And there are quick tips always, but the real change happens when we are willing to put in the work.
Yes. So
we all have these patterns that we default to because our brain loves efficiency. Yes. So whatever doesn't waste too much energy, that's what we go for.
Yeah.
And the old is easier than the new. But if we realize that the old is not what we want, there are ways to rewire it, but we do need to be aware that it will require some effort, it will require willpower and the right strategy to do so. It's not just do, but doing it in a strategic way.
Yes, and I think that's key to what you offer is the strategy to support as well, and then the support when things maybe don't go as quickly as we expect it to, and so on. We will keep you, Giulia, and we will be back after we've heard some of the top tips from our other resident experts.
Discomfort isn't danger. it's expansion. Many people believe that stepping out of their comfort zone should feel empowering or inspiring, but in reality, it often feels uncomfortable, awkward, even scary. And that's not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign you're entering the growth zone. Your comfort zone isn't about safety. It's about what's familiar. And familiar isn't always healthy. When you try something new, changing habits, healing old patterns, improving well-being, your nervous system reacts. It prefers the known even when the known is unhelpful. So here's the mindset shift. Discomfort doesn't mean danger. Discomfort often means progress. Today, choose one tiny uncomfortable action. Send the email, set the boundary, take the walk, say the truth. If it feels uncomfortable but align with who you want to become, lean into it. That's where change happens.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. We are here with the founder of inGeniously, which is such an interesting approach to working with our brains. So Giulia, thank you for being here, and thank you for introducing us to your work, introducing us to the 12 cognitive skills that we need to function at our best. And I'd agree, I think we all need those skills to some degree, even just getting through life. But now we're talking about how we can change or improve some of those skills. So I'm going to give you another scenario. Life and actually, I guess happiness is a lot about the best fit. So what if you've got somebody who really has done the work, they've put in the effort, they've developed all those skills, and then the professional environment changes and it's just not the best fit for them, but they're happy there. You know, these are the real things that we fight with when you go into organisations. How do you support someone in really recognising, well, you've become as good as you can be at this, it's just not your environment anymore, it's not fitting, you don't need to change to fit into this anymore, maybe you need to change the environment. How do you kind of...
Yeah, that's a £1 million question.
It is,
right?
yeah, isn't it?
It's always about, do I see it, finding that balance. So being willing to test and explore, but not being so stuck into, I have to make it work, that then I don't listen to what I really feel I want. Yeah. So there's elements that come from how good we are at something, and so also our sense of confidence, the self-efficacy that comes from it, that's important. There's elements that come from the environment. If I realize that I am becoming good or as good as I want and can be on something, and then the environment still doesn't reflect that, there's some heaviness, toxicity, I don't feel happy, or maybe the environment is okay in itself, but I just can't feel that happiness and I can't find it, then part of using our brain effectively means also having the courage to choose to change. Maybe in a strategic way. It doesn't mean I quit my job and leave. Maybe, okay, I start looking around, I start discovering what is it that I'm actually passionate about, how can I use my creativity, my intuition, my critical thinking to find something that fits me best.
Yeah, I like that. It's sometimes when I talk to clients, usually in a training session, you tend to get a lot of stories that come out. People might do all the work, but it's just not financially sensible to leave right now, or maybe they're going through something personal, so it's not appropriate to leave right now. And so you do get a lot of that situation. Again, this is another off-the-cuff question, but would you ever say it was right for somebody to give it 2 years, you know, sort of still develop, but it's just not right for them to, you know, 2 years will be time for a divorce to come through. You know what I mean? It's that kind of situation.
Yeah, I believe everyone comes from very different situations, right? And so it's, again, using our brain also means looking at, assessing what we have in front of us. Is it sensible right now to just leave? Or should I wait? But if I wait, do I want to wait passively, like 2 years for things to happen, or do I want to use these 2 years in a different way? Because, for example, if I learn how to use my brain better with focus, time management, and so on, what happens? That maybe I can get to the end of the day and I'm a bit less exhausted,
Yes.
have more mental space to actually start searching for what can come next.
Yeah.
But if I don't do that work and I just wait passively for 2 years, in 2 years'
Yeah.
time, I will need to start that part of the job that's necessary.
No, I love that, and that's why I love that inGeniously is so much about you and your developments, not necessarily somebody else having to change things. But that is my sorry, and I know I've dominated this with questions. But and also now let's look at the organisation. The organisation, you've gone in, you found out everybody works in this particular way, and the organisation does not suit that. But the majority of the team think in this particular way. How can inGeniously help the organisation to go, well, actually, we've got a brilliant team, but we need to alter this approach. But they've done it for years as well, so it's a slightly different.
Yeah, so that brings me back to two things.
Yeah.
One can be the fact that when organizations as well see things in writing, it becomes easier, right?
That
so
is
for
true.
example, when we take our assessment and we show the results and people see it and they recognize those results and they're like, oh, that's why this thing was happening, it's easier to see the problem, if there is a problem, and understand, okay, how do we adjust it now? And I'm more willing to do it because it's not more a perception, but it's something that I've seen in writing, right?
Yes.
And the second thing, the organization as the individual needs to be willing to put in the work and change. So we can't get stuck in old patterns and old ways if we want to actually thrive.
Yeah.
You know, like there's this evolutionary biology principle they called it the Red Queen effect after Alice in Wonderland, basically. But it says that in Alice in Wonderland, what they were saying is that you need to keep running to just keep the same place, right?
Yeah.
But what that means is that if we don't keep evolving, adapting, we will get extinct because other species will do that.
Yeah.
And so as organizations, that needs to happen as well. Yeah. There may be something that has worked well for 20 years, and it was okay. It's not that it was wrong. It was okay for those times. Now, if the team requires something different, we also need to be willing to adapt. And what we try to do is to match what the team needs and wants with what the organization needs and wants. Because when we use our ingenuity, we can find ways to let it match and adapt in a healthy way.
Absolutely. No, I love that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love that you say that our brain, that using our brain better is our key to freedom. So how do we kind of balance that with the need to, for example, pay bills when the work we do is potentially unfulfilling, but we don't know if we can get another job?
Yeah, I think it really goes back to the brain is so powerful.
Yeah.
So if we identify what will help us to use it better, we can already start finding more fulfillment in what we do. You know, if you think about a child, the children can have fun while doing anything, even when the thing for us adults seems very, very boring, because they have these eyes in which they see everything as exploration.
Yeah.
So introducing that element of curiosity constantly helps while we plan for a better outcome, a better future, a more fulfilling job, and so on. But it doesn't need to be misery until I find a new job.
Yes.
It can be, okay, I can learn how to enjoy as much as possible, and then also learn how to enjoy it and also learn how to get the most out of it. So what can this job actually teach me that could potentially be beneficial for my future later? In the meantime, I can plan for something that will reward me more.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And you also talk about high achievers sabotaging their learning, which, it's definitely something we've spoken about before. So why do you think that happens? How and why does that happen?
So I feel that when we sabotage our learning as high achievers, it happens from this fixed mindset mentality that we've experienced and been raised about. Like I love Carol Dweck's book, Dr. Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, when she explains the difference, right, between fixed and growth mindset. Because when I read it the first time a lot of years ago, what really caught my attention was that, yes, it's obvious that you shouldn't tell someone you're terrible, you're unable to do anything, you're a loser. That's fairly clear, right?
Yeah.
But what really surprised me was when she mentioned also when you tell someone you're so smart, you're so brilliant, you are creating damage because that person will start feeling that they have to live up to your expectation, and that creates so much pressure, and that takes the fun out of learning. So as human
Yes.
beings, we love learning. When we learn something, we feel we have grown, we have evolved, we've learned so much. Our first question is why, when we're kids, basically. You know? We want to discover the world. But then from this sense of discovery, it becomes, I need to prove that I'm good enough. So I stop really wanting to learn. I want to know things, which is a different thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to know, but they don't want to learn anymore. When we rediscover that sense with the growth mindset of, okay, I don't know everything, and that's the beauty of it, then let me discover, let me explore, let me find something more, and that sense of pressure decreases a bit, because I'm doing it as a game rather than I have to prove something.
Yeah. I think that's so lovely and so true.
Yeah.
Because that goes back to old patterns of high achievers, doesn't it, really? Where somebody has just been told, you know, you're so smart at this. So they're now thinking, if I'm not smart, the world falls down.
Yeah, if I'm not smart, what am I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, your identity is so linked to that. And it really is about breaking through that, isn't
Yeah.
it? So it's absolutely fascinating. I'm going to throw one more just observation in here, because one of the other problems that I think I've seen in myself and in my clients as well, in psychology, there's a concept called the halo and horns effect. So the halo effect is, if somebody is pretty, for example, you'll go, oh, they must be smart and kind and generous and all of those other positive things. Horns effect, again, it's on attractiveness. It was from attractiveness research. So if you judge someone as not attractive, they must also be selfish and mean and liars. So that's the two effects. But the point is, they come together. And this whole point about your, when I get the job, I'm going to do all of these amazing things. But what you're saying is, no, actually start doing the things that make you happy. We actually lump everything together. We, like the halo effect or the horns effect, unless I'm in a new job, none of these other things are open to me. Whereas that's not true. You can do all of these other things and then get the new job.
That's true.
And that really comes out in what you're saying. And it comes out a lot in how, I guess, you coach people as well. I took a long time to say something which is quite simple. How might you put that into simple language and do my job properly?
Yeah, I believe that it's so true, because we make the perception that we have of a little thing pervasive to everything else.
Yes.
Right? So if, at times when you ask someone, how are you today? Oh, terrible. What happened? Oh, this tiny little thing, but what about your family? Oh, that's great. What about your partner? That's amazing. What about this? Oh, wonderful. But we make that little perception pervasive to everything. And we do it with negative and with positive. More often with negative than with positive for most people. But it's about realizing, okay, maybe this area right now is not the one. It's not going as well as I would like it to go. But number one, it's not everything. Number two, what can I put as a new input in there so that I can make it a bit better, rather than just waiting for circumstances to change.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean being passive to circumstances, because I can still, as we were saying before, start looking for some other plan and so on. But while I'm here, what can I do?
Yes, I love that. While I'm here, what can I do?
Yeah.
That's spot on. I love this. We're keeping you, Giulia, and we'll be back after you've heard some top tips from our resident experts.
If you feel stuck or unsure where to start, here's a method I absolutely love. Ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? Don't think big, think doable, think gentle. Your goal might be weight loss, confidence, emotional balance, better sleep, less stress. But every big transformation is built on one small action repeated over time. One small thing creates momentum. Momentum creates identity, and identity creates long-term change. I tell my clients all the time, you don't need to change your whole life today. You just need one action that nudges you forward. Pick something simple, something you can actually repeat, and start there. Your future self is already cheering for you.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters Office Hours. We are talking about improving our cognitive skills. and actually working on improving what we can improve right now, rather than just thinking, oh well, when that happens I'm going to do all of the improvement. And actually it makes a lot of sense to improve what you can now, because otherwise, if say a magic wand does happen and you get that new job, it's still you right now going into that job.
That's
which
a really
means
good
that
point.
Unless you've improved those other skills, you may not be ready for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and at the beginning, when we have a change, it may seem like everything is new, so reset time, and it partly is, because some of maybe the stressors, the triggers that you had before are not there anymore, but eventually we recreate similar realities if the change hasn't started from within. Right?
Yes, which leads me very nicely on to the next question, because this is from your TEDx talk. You talk about conscious learning. So right now we are talking about conscious learning. It's the learning which happens because you've chosen to do it and you're aware of it. Why, A, is that so important? And B, why do we not do it? Because I've seen it in training sessions where they all nod at me and they all go, oh yeah, I'll do all of those things. And they can answer the two questions, what am I going to do after this session, that kind of thing. They won't.
I think this brings us very nicely back to the default patterns we were saying before, right? So we all have this autopilot mode, which is so much easier and more efficient. And the way I describe it is like this highway, like a motorway where you just travel, you don't need to think about anything, you just go there, and it's easy. But then all of a sudden you realize that it's not leading you where you want to be. And so this highway, I imagine it in this forest, right? And so you realize that where you actually want to be is in the middle of the forest, but there's no path that leads you there. And so at that point, what you need to do is to take your machete and start carving a path in the forest. And at that point, you build to that possibility. But next time you go there, it will still be easier to take the motorway. So that's when it really takes a lot of awareness of, so we need to remember that the path is there. We need to choose to take it, even though it takes more effort. We need to choose to take it many, many times until that becomes our new default mode and the forest grows on the old motorway, right? And it takes effort. So we really need to choose that point, that spot in the middle of the forest is more important for us than the efficient, effortless motorway.
Yes, that's true. This is open to everybody, and I will play as well. Has there been a point in your life where you have consciously learned something? I'm just curious now, where you've just gone, I need to do that differently, or I need to learn that skill, have you had one of those moments? I'm going to ask both of you, and I will share one as well.
So I think that's how I live my life, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. So every single day I ask myself to learn something, but there's been some, of course, important moments in which maybe I decided to take different development courses and in order to kind of have a booster, in that direction. But then it's something that I feel it's important to do every day, and not with the stress of because at times some people go into the opposite. No, now I never enough. I need to learn.
Yes.
So it's not from that place. Like, just knowing that we'll never stop learning, right? So, okay, what can I learn today, but with that curious spirit? And so that's
I love it. I love it. So it's a habit for you in many ways.
It's my autopilot now.
Yes, fantastic. What about you, Jude?
Funnily enough, I was talking to a friend about this week. She's learning Korean, which is really difficult.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I love learning as well. So I like learning about music and languages and stuff. But I also did my advanced driving course as well. So even though I've been driving for years and years and years, there's always things you can learn. And I learned loads. So yeah, I did that. I really loved that.
I love that. And it's interesting because what got me thinking about this was this high achiever thing. So I know a lot of my trainees will be high achievers, which means that they will sit and do the hardest work they can, a bit like Hermione Granger, in the class, and then when they go, it doesn't matter because I'm not checking in on them. And I know I've got those tendencies. But piecing together everything, 2 years ago, I decided to teach myself to swim properly, as opposed to... and I did. And I was doing it for an event, which never happened to me. But I did it in a pool instead of doing it in open water. And now, 2 years on, I left my gym ages ago, but in the interest of doing what I can now, before big changes might happen in 2 years' time, I went back to the gym. I got a good Black Friday deal. Went swimming this week, And my body just went back into its normal pattern and went, you can do this.
Oh.
You can get up in the cold, in the rain, go to the gym, do it. And that really interested me because that was a conscious effort to do 2 years ago when I really didn't want to do it. But now it was cold, it was wet, autopilot just went, yeah, you can do that.
Amazing.
That's wonderful.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
It
really is.
That's exactly
That's
how
what the brain does.
Yeah, exactly how our brain works. And once you built the new path, and it became a road, and it became a road, and maybe for a while you didn't take it.
Yes.
So it's just about removing a
But
little
it's still
bit.
there.
But then it's still there.
That I love that, and that just really hammers home the point about how ask what you can do now, and then if you put the effort into consciously learn, actually it pays dividends.
Yeah, it should serve you well for your future life.
Yeah.
That's really,
It's funny, isn't it?
it's a really powerful analogy that you use.
So now, and this is the hard bit, because I know starting swimming and going regularly, it was conscious effort, and the motivation was just, you've got this event coming up in September. Yeah. How, if you don't have that, can we do it? How do we then go, no, I am going to every day?
That's
the harder question.
That's the most difficult question, because we are so used to just using extrinsic motivation in order to start building habits. So either running away from what we don't want or chasing what we want, and it's normal, and it's not something to say, oh, I won't do that. But at times it's not available, right?
Yeah.
And it cannot be the only reason. Otherwise we're very dependent on something external. So I find that what makes it as easy as possible to build a habit, also when there's no extrinsic motivation, is to make it as enjoyable as possible.
Yeah.
Either enjoyable or growth oriented. So if I can tie it into something that I really want to develop as an individual, and I can also have fun. I mean, when there's this combo, we've won the lottery.
Yes.
Okay? But at least one of the two. So either, for example, I decide that I want to go to swimming, and I can't really see the point except for the fact that everyone has told me that I need to go. But I know that there's another friend that I really get along with. That okay, so let me enjoy it. So I make it fun by going with a friend, for example. Or I can choose to go swimming because, you know what, I've always told myself that someday I would do it. And I want to look at myself in the mirror thinking, okay, I've done my part.
Yes.
And maybe that's good enough for me even without the friend. No?
Yeah.
So, but finding some reason that's inside as to why we really want it.
Yes.
And also keeping in mind that at the beginning it will be hard, but it will never be as hard as the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. And I think with making things enjoyable, there's a lot of practical things that can happen with that. So just as an example, one of the reasons I used to give myself that I didn't want to go is I get water in my ears, I don't like that, etc., etc. But then I saw it really cheaply on Amazon, you know, one of those neoprene bands, and earplugs, which I had anyway, but I was still getting water in the swimming cap. But I just thought, no, I'll get these earplugs and I'll use this band. And the band's really tight, which means that actually when you swim, the earplugs stay in place. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go now. And it's so funny how something just practical can make it so much nicer.
Absolutely. And both in the process and also as a reward. You know, we said extrinsic motivation helps a lot, and at times we don't have it, but we can still choose to treat ourselves. So you know what, if I do it, I'll allow myself my favorite coffee today, or it's just a little treat that is fine. It's not like okay, I'm going to go on a 2-week trip around the world, but like something small, but that kind of makes me look forward to it, because I know that after that moment of effort, there's something that I love. Even just I'll have a lovely hot shower, like it's something that I enjoy. And that comes after that tough moment.
Yes. No, I love it. I think it's so true. And I just love it when you can see everything you talk about play out, because it does work, but it does take effort.
And I'm very similar. So I make myself go for a walk every day, but I record it on Strava, so I've got the visual proof, and I did that. Nice. So that's just like a tiny thing, but it really, really helps with the motivation.
Give you a fun one, which I realise it's a morning show. I walk in patterns on Strava. I sometimes draw fish.
That's going to be my new challenge. What can I draw today?
A fish.
A fish. I've seen worse.
It's got a head and a tail.
Have you shared any of these? So Send me them later.
Oh, I do have one though. No, there is one. It's a very big fish.
Audrey's up the ante. I have been challenged.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, funny.
That goes back to making it fun. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Definitely.
Apart from drawing fish, are you able to give us a tool to kind of improve our factor L, our conscious learning?
One tool.
Yeah.
That's many you've given us.
So I think the best way. So what comes to mind is this. The reason why a lot of people don't learn is that they don't see the fulfillment in learning immediately, right? And so what I would recommend, we have a free quiz, for example, that people can take that's called the superpower quiz, where it's a 2-minute quiz. You take it, but at least it starts directing you to what will actually give you results, because if we start seeing results, then our motivation grows. If we put a lot of effort, we say, okay, now I really want to learn, but then we don't see it happening, then we go back into our default mode. So the superpower quiz is a very easy and accessible way, it's free, to just see it, see what the priority is, understand some free resources that we can start with, and that could be a good way to get started so that we build those
I think
references.
that's lovely, and I've done it, and it's really helpful because what it does, it gives you certain directions. And what it also tells you is the ones that, you're pretty good at this one. And I can use that and look at it myself and then go, oh, when I'm learning, I'm doing the one that I'm already really good at because it's easy. And I get the dopamine hit, but that's not really developing me. And I think that does help you when you've got that visual reference. So
and learning, it helps to leverage what you're already good at, because we have it, let's use it, so that's wonderful.
Yeah.
While also keeping an eye on, okay, this one maybe requires a little bit of work, so let me see how I can improve that.
Definitely. Love it.
But is that still has value? Because even though you're doing something that you can already do, but you can build on that to learn something else?
You can. I know I use it as a cheap dopamine hit. It's a little bit like if you've ever saw the Friends episode where Monica, who's a chef, goes to beginner's cooking class. It's like that.
So she can get all the praise.
Just to get the praise. That's a high achiever pattern playing out there, which I can be aware of and then sort of do the things that I need more work on.
Interesting. Oh, this has been so fascinating. Really nice. Where can we learn more about you and what you do?
So we have a website, ingeniously.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, inGeniously UK, on Instagram, inGeniously UK, or you can find me personally on LinkedIn as well, Giulia Remondino. So you can reach out, and we have some free resources that we get access to, and of course we can have chats about how we can help you.
Fantastic, brilliant. We shall be back with you after Business Boost. In today's Business Boost, I have two people to help me. and if you have just tuned in, we are talking about how to improve our cognitive skills with a method called inGeniously. And it's a really fabulous show, so do rewind and have a listen to Giulia, because it's been such a great conversation. Now, one of the things I find when I go into organisations is that people don't always like to be told when something doesn't quite work or doesn't fit, or they're not doing something wrong. There's an area to develop. That's the phrase we all like to use. Yeah. And people get quite resistant to it. And yet, in my own personal experience and in the experience I've had with clients, especially in coaching sessions, when they're open to listening to the areas they can improve on, when they're open to being told when something isn't working out for them, the biggest improvements happen. So I want to talk about something called the Johari window. And this is it's sort of a box, looks like a window with the cross in the middle. And on the top corner, what we think about is the stuff that is known to us and known to everybody else. We like to call it our personality, or like it or lump it kind of thing. We know it, other people know it. On the other box is we don't know it, nobody knows it. This is stuff that might bubble up at some point and it might just appear to us. The next two are the more interesting. The one box is the stuff that you know about yourself that you just haven't shared with other people. That's fine, it's your secrets. It's the stuff that you're aware of, no one else needs to know unless you want them to know. it's the fourth quadrant that is the most important, I think the most helpful when it comes to personal development, which is stuff that you've got no idea about, and somebody else points it out. Now, in coaching, in training, using your tool ingeniously, we almost expect someone to point it out, whether we like it or not. We've got into there knowing it. In friendships, I always think it's the best friends who will point those things out to you. And although we might snap at them, bite the head off, etc., etc., they're the ones worth keeping because they dared to do it knowing what the reaction might be. So my question to you is, whether it's training or whether it's friendships, what one thing has been pointed out to you that has changed or helped you grow in a way that you never expected to happen? That's the question. Whether it's a friend who's pointed it out, whether it's a coach that's pointed it out. Are you willing to share? We'll start with...
There's been many
yes,
over
I'm
the years.
sure there will, yeah.
The one that came to mind first, though, was that I didn't take myself lightly enough. And for me, it was just normal. That's how I was. I never even thought that was a thing. That was like about, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, someone mentioned it, and I was like, that can't be it. But I started observing myself, and I realized, wait, actually there is that level of tension because I want everything to be okay, to be right, to be this. And I realized I was more of a perfectionist than I thought I was. And I started trying to loosen that up a little bit and having a bit more fun. And that improved my life, my training, my business, everything so much. So initially it wasn't very nice to hear because as a perfectionist, I wanted to be perfect in everything, right?
And that's top corner. It's a bit like it or lump it, isn't it? That's who I am.
But then as I observed myself, I realized, I could be lighter here. I could let go. Even if something is not perfect, it may be okay. And it just allowed me to blossom much more.
I love that. And your energy now, you would never have thought that would have been a problem.
That's good. Testament to my friend who told me that.
And it's a good friend that says it, you know. What about you, Jude?
Oh my gosh, I suppose there's quite a few, and funnily enough, along similar lines, it's been pointed out to me that I don't smile very much, so it's kind of along the similar lines. But something different that was pointed out to me was that I don't have much patience when people are. So when I'm listening. Or when I should be listening, because I want to jump in with, yeah, I really understand, and that happened to me, and try and have empathy with the person that's talking to me. But actually, that's not what a good listener does. So I've been told I'm not a very good listener quite often, and so I've really been trying to work on that and try not to jump in and kind of share my experiences so that the person feel, but they don't want. But you know, people that are talking to you don't want that. Yeah. They just want to be able to speak anyway. So that's my thing.
That's so interesting, because again, I would say we've done the show for 2 years. Listening is not an issue for you.
I mean, I suppose I've just done it again. Sorry.
No. I was just saying you're great. That's
Thank you, but I think maybe I have the professional side or the work side maybe, and then but in my friendships maybe, I don't know, but and also we're here to learn and listen to really lovely guests, so maybe I just put a different hat on, or maybe I have a different, but it's something that I really try to work on.
It's just, of course, mine's kind of similar to both of yours in many ways. And this is to do with my husband. Now, if you see us work together, you think actually we work together really, really well. But there was one point where my husband had to turn around and say to me, this was a few years ago, he said, when you do something and we do something together and it's gone wrong, but it's your planning, I help you. When we do something and it's my planning and it's gone wrong, you blame me. We're a team. We need to work as a team, and that's the only way we can actually address things and get through things. And he was right, 100% right. And I then thought back to all the times where I've done something really stupid and he's just gone and helped me sort it out. And then the other times where I've sat there and gone, well, you should have done that then, shouldn't you? And I just thought, I don't want to be that person. Oh, that's a terrible person. And I worked really, really hard on just catching it every single time. And now I would say we're generally very, very good at teamwork, but better than we were before. Because when things go right, it's not a problem.
No. Oh, that's so interesting.
But it's a huge amount of growth there from everybody, I think, because I think it does change the course of your life when somebody points something out that you don't have to work on. But if you do, so much opens up.
Yeah, and it's the same. You know, I would never have known that was something that you did because of the way I've seen you work together, and it doesn't occur. So.
Well, this is where coaching or somebody pointing something out to you really makes a difference. So if nothing else, do give that inGeniously tool a go. And that's our challenge to you this week.
Discomfort isn't danger, it's expansion. Many people believe that stepping out of their comfort zone should feel empowering or inspiring. But in reality, it often feels uncomfortable, awkward, even scary. And that's not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign you're entering the growth zone. Your comfort zone isn't about safety. It's about what's familiar. And familiar isn't always healthy. When you try something new, changing habits, healing old patterns, improving well-being, your nervous system reacts. It prefers the known even when the known is unhelpful. So here's the mindset shift. Discomfort doesn't mean danger. Discomfort often means progress. Today, choose one tiny uncomfortable action. Send the email, set the boundary, take the walk, say the truth. If it feels uncomfortable but align with who you want to become, lean into it. That's where change happens.
What an enjoyable show.
It really is, and has been, and it's really fascinating as well. Anything to do with the brain, I love. And you've made it really accessible and easy to understand.
And positive.
Yeah.
So often when you talk about learning, there's this, you're not good enough sort of energy that goes with it. Whereas it's not. This is about unlocking and about revealing, and that's much more exciting, I think.
Yeah, it's been
more
really,
training
really
sessions
lovely.
should be like that.
Yes.
Right, what have you taken from today? There's been so much, Jude. This is the time where we like to reflect.
I know. I think one of the sort of the big messages that I've received anyway is not to kind of rest on your laurels. So, but for two reasons. One, in the job you're in, there's always things to learn. You can always be better in what you do. But also, if you are looking ahead and you maybe want to change career, then kind of put the work in now so that you're a really good version of yourself when you want to change. So that's what I've really got from this.
Same. It's verbalizing that and making it conscious. Because I think we do know this, and I know that I've had conversations with clients before when I have said to them things like, if you are going to go to Spain or wherever, you are the same person that is going to be in Spain. So the other work needs to be done. But it's the whole idea that we do seem to lump everything in together. But if we just tease it out, there's so much that we can do now to make different parts of our life better. And it's about recognizing that we're getting our kitchen renovated, and that's been a long sort of thing. And it got better the minute I recognized, well, actually, most of it's functional now. We can move everything back in. We don't need to wait for the last few bits to be done. And in doing what we could do in the moment has made life so much nicer. But we do lump it together, and it's almost because our brain wants to be efficient. If I do the whole job and move everything back in, once everything's done, it's one big job there. But actually, now when everything's done, most of it's moved back in.
And it's made your life easier.
So much easier.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So that brings us over to you, Giulia. What top tip can you give our viewers, our listeners, to just make that change, unlock that one superpower that now, even if everything else maybe is unpredictable, what can we do?
So I was thinking about what to recommend, and there's one that I see all my clients really apply and they see change with it. That's also quick to teach, which could be very helpful, because the problem is that we go on this autopilot, as we said, and we do it for learning, we do it for work, emotional reactions to things, and we lower, when we are that reactive also emotionally, we lower our ability to think critically, to have ideas, we go into fight or flight mode and all of that. So this technique that I call FACE is a quick focus reset that can help us to just in 10 seconds reset and activate the power of our brain again, right?
Brilliant.
So FACE is an acronym, okay? And so there are 4 steps. Very simple. I'll explain them and then we can do it very quickly. So the first step is feel, which means acknowledging the emotion that you're feeling. And the reason for this is that there have been studies that have shown that when we feel an emotion, if we don't label it, it just takes over. As soon as we label it, we are back in control. Okay, so even just saying I'm bored, I'm stressed, I'm scared, that already releases that pressure and puts us back in charge. Then we have A, and A is for alpha state. So it's allowing our brain, our mind to go into alpha state, so in a relaxed state, quickly. And then C is choose the intention. So we need to choose. We need to choose where we want to direct our focus, because our mind is powerful, but it works based on the direction that we give it. So the question that we ask ourselves will make a difference. So if I choose that, okay, now maybe I was angry, okay, now I want to react to it calm, or I want to assess the situation before, or I want to find an interesting idea, our mind will keep looking for the answer until it finds it. It's a bit like if we had a dictionary, we kept leafing through it until we find exactly what we need. And then finally, execute, so open our eyes and do whatever we need to do. So it's very quick, it's a 10-second process, but it makes a big difference. And the way it works, like we just close our eyes for a moment, trying to relax our body for a second, and asking ourselves, okay, what am I feeling? Whatever comes, at times it's also excitement, it doesn't need to be a negative one, but what am I feeling? And then at that point, we can take a deep breath, and we can imagine 3 things that before closing our eyes we could see in front of us, 2 things that we could hear, but that we can hear now, and 1 thing that we can feel. It could be a sensation, it could be something internal, or our hands on our lap. And at this point we ask ourselves, okay, what is my intention? How do I want to feel? How do I want to react to this situation? What do I want to get in this next 10 minutes, 1 hour? And then we can open our eyes. And this is a very quick focus reset that we can do before any activity, or when we realize that we're losing focus and so our brain is not there in that moment, when we need to multitask a lot and we're losing track of things, or when we are in the middle of something a bit more charged emotionally, and when we're that charged, we're not allowing our creativity, our intuition, our critical thinking to work. So it can be applied in many different situations very quickly and very calming as well.
And that's beautiful. That's really nice. Well, thank you, Giulia. This has been such a great conversation. We will have all of your details in the show notes. And from all of us here at Mental Health Matters, have a healthy week.